back to Overthink, the game show where I ask contestants a series of Overwatch hot takes to see where they stand. Feel free to play along in the comments to let me know what your opinions are on these hot takes. And if you'd like to actually be on an episode, go ahead and sign up in my Discord. I host these live on my Twitch channel most Sundays, so please go follow me on there to catch a show live. And lastly, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this. On today's episode, I invited 9 Doomfist players to find out what we've all been wondering. Do all Doomfist players think the same? Let's find out. DPS Doomfist is better than tank Doomfist. Go.
Just a little short one. I personally think that DPS Doomfist was better because one, his kill potential was so much better back in Overwatch 1, and 2, his rollouts is just better. Like the block, I miss uppercut, man.
DPS Doom was way more fun for the Doomfist player than tank Doomfist will ever be. The only reason I'm in somewhat agree instead of fully agree is because he was a literal cancer on the game as a DPS with the amount of CC and mobility he had all put together. It made life a living hell for a lot of people. He's fun for Doom, but for no one else.
I don't know, I think they're both pretty equal in terms of annoyance and the way they're played. I also disagree with Cream's statement a little bit. Sure, Doom can be annoying to play against, but he's really easy to deal with. There's multiple heroes you can really pick to easily counter him. It's just a skill issue if you die to him.
I think DPS Doomfist, I mean, he did have the one-shot punch, but tank Doomfist just has way more area control and can just take way more space. And also just the state of the game that Overwatch was in Overwatch 1, there's way more CC and stuff, so it just felt way worse to play DPS Doomfist, in my opinion.
My opinion on Tank Doom and DPS Doom, I mean, DPS Doom, for his pretty much entire existence, is one of, if not the worst DPS in the game, besides Bastion. I mean, he's had maybe 3 months of competitive viability, whereas Doom, I think, is in his current state, is easily a top 5 tank in the game right now. I think he's very strong, has much more consistency than DPS Doom. DPS Doom was just all or nothing, and you kind of needed your entire team to play around him, whereas this Doom is so much more flexible. And obviously, there's so much less CC in the game, it just enables him way harder than DPS Doom ever was.
Yeah, I mean, where I play at the top of ranked, DPS Doom is kind of not very viable at all. He's kind of just a troll pick, and tank Doom, he's perfectly viable. I don't have fear of seeing a tank or a tank Doom on my team, but it's just he's kind of a troll pick on DPS unless you're lower to mid SR, because then he's a good, but that's not really what I think of when I think of a good hero. I kind of think of the top of competitive.
6v6 is better than 5v5. Go.
The biggest problem 5v5 has is that so many of the tanks, in my opinion, are built to be played with another tank. Someone like Zarya and D.Va, to me, just don't function well in the game as a solo tank. And I feel the game was in a much healthier spot when it was a tank duo meta. Certain heroes facilitate each other, Zarya with Ryan, Winston with D.Va, etc., etc. Now, there's obviously problems with that, but I think it was overall better than having heroes in the current state, Zarya and Junker Queen. They just sort of don't feel like tanks. They just feel like beefed up DPS.
I pretty much completely agree with Chipsa. The coordination between tanks is what makes this game the most fun, and I'm a little bit biased towards competitive. And the only reason I'm not completely in agree is because I think for the average player, 5v5 is better because having 2 tanks coordinate is not really viable below masters. It just doesn't really happen a lot. So I think it's the best when there's 2 tanks, but for the average player, not so much.
I feel 5v5 is better for DPS and supports, but I think since it's 5v5, I think the worst thing about it is just being a tank player. 6v6 is better for tank players, and 5v5 is better for everybody else. I just think it's more healthier for the game overall. I think they just have to figure out how to make tanks work in 5v5.
Both have their own issues. At the end of Overwatch 1, the issue was mainly with double shield making it impossible to damage certain comps. And I think how they could have fixed that was with the changes to Orisa instead of switching to 5v5. But also 5v5 stops issues like that from happening just in general. But tanks aren't built for 5v5 yet, and other heroes like Zenyatta are just horrible to play as a tank.
So after everybody has spoken, is there anybody who would like to change their stance?
Yeah, I'm coming over here.
All right, so we had one person move. Squiggle, you moved from somewhat disagree to somewhat agree. What made you move?
Just thinking about it, I don't know, at its peak, 6v6 was just way more fun. Just the coordination that it actually required to get value, I think made it just a more interactive game. 5v5 just feels I don't know, you can do a lot more alone if you're on DPS or support, but I also think that's not that fun in certain situations because, like, I don't know, the tank role just feels a little cosmetic sometimes.
Next question is going to be from our co-host here, Sir Saltyfish. So I'm going to pass the mic on over to him.
Welcome, everybody. Or thank you for having me. Here's my hot take. Doomfist players could easily thrive on another hero and do just as well, if not better, than how they are currently performing as Doomfist. Go! Ooh, all across the board. I love that.
Before I mained Doom, I did a lot of other tanks, mostly Sigma, and I noticed it was like way easier to go up, Ramatra too, because they just have way more stuff. You don't have as much responsibility, and you don't have to play like as perfectly than you do like while playing Doom. Because if you make like one wrong move in like any situation as Doom, sometimes most of the time you're just gonna get like popped instantly by every CC in the whole lobby. So you don't have that much risk with a lot of other tanks, so you can like rely on your teammates more.
Rounding back to what Agent said, with the whole difficulty and the effort, Doomfist players can perform better on virtually any tank except for maybe Wrecking Ball, because his effort for value ratio is so lopsided in comparison to the rest of the tank roster that you literally do have to play perfectly in quite a lot of circumstances just to get your baseline of value. There is simply no room for error with Doomfist, and all these other tanks have like, barriers, grasp, Orissa's got fortify, some tanks have a self-heal. Doom doesn't realistically have any of that to work with. You have to do mental gymnastics and jump through a ton of hoops just to try and avoid everything and get your value at the same time.
If you're just one-tricking Doom, then if you haven't really played any other characters, then switching to another character, I mean, like, I guess you could be better because Doom requires like a decent amount of aim and like game sense, but that's true with like a lot of characters, so it's not really separate from anyone else.
I just think, like me personally, you just have to remember a lot of stuff that you have to do with Doomfist, like how to do rollouts in different maps, different stall spots. If you like have to make if you like punch in and then dive out, all that. It's just, and you don't have that much like space for like to remember other stuff for other tanks.
I think with any character, if you are good on that character and that is like the character you play, you probably won't be as better being on any other character besides that character. Even if you could play other characters. It's just you have the knowledge of what that character needs to do and how to do it.
I feel like if you could play Doom at a high level, you can kind of play other tanks as well, but you're not gonna be able to play those tanks at a high level until you get the experience and you learn from it. I just feel like if you're able to play Doom really well, you could definitely learn and pick up another hero. But you can't just swap to them and just automatically be like a god with them.
After everybody's spoken, is there anybody that would like to change their stance?
Yeah, I'm gonna move. I moved because, well, most Doomfist players are one-tricks, or like most Doomfist mains are just complete one-tricks, so they don't really get value outside of their hero, I feel. But there are like certain scenarios where they can, like when Get Quaked On throws my games on Circuit Royale, he just needs to play Sigma, or like when they're getting hard countered, they can definitely swap and get like as much value. But in most scenarios, I don't think so. So I had to swap over.
Damn, Quake, you gonna take that?
That's a skill issue on his part.
On your part, you were going negative.
Bro, I was not getting healed.
I feel like y'all should duke it out. Give me some views. Go ahead. Who was in the wrong here? Pull up the VOD replays.
Oh, he does not want to.
I mean, sure,
I
could swap. I mean, I could swap, sure, but like, you guys can also swap and play with me. I don't need to go Sigma. Y'all can go dive or actually heal me when I'm going in, because I was making a lot of space. I just wasn't
you were
getting
making
healed.
a lot of space, alright. You were making a ton of space.
Oh,
It's
what
just
was
the space he
crowded?
was making was in the sky.
No,
else.
he was just dead while he was making the space.
I had no heals.
You have no heals in their backline?
I'm not in their backline.
We can have a VOD view later. It was
All right, children,
like a week ago.
calm down, children.
No, don't calm down. I need to pay my
We're
rent.
all
Keep going. If anything, this is too tame.
Come on.
Come on, give me the content. Jerry. They should change Doomfist back to a DPS. Go.
Okay, so I'm just like really selfish, and he was so super fun, and I play DPS now, so I kind of just like really want him to be a DPS. I don't think he'd be better for the game as a tank, but or as a DPS, but I don't really care. I'd rather just have him be a DPS. He's too much fun.
I mean, mine's pretty much the same thing. I think I just care for game balance a little more than Backstep does. I think he would be better now than he would have been like at the start of Overwatch 2. I think a lot of the characters they've added would do a lot to just shut down a DPS to him, but without like a decent amount of CC, he would kind of just do a lot, but I also think he was just way too fun, dude.
As much as I love playing DPS Doom, he's one of the most unhealthy heroes in the game's history. Like the sort of swings you get between just like one-shotting people and just being completely useless just isn't good for the game. It's not fun to be knocked around and CC'd like crazy. All that combined with the insane one-shot potential. Like yes, he's worse, but it's just not fun to play against him. Like, and I don't even think he's that much more fun to play as personally. I think the current version of Doom is way more fluid to play. It doesn't rely on as many just weird and dumb things that just don't make for healthy game design. So I think he's just better the way he is right now.
Rounding back onto gameplay balance and the idea of Doomfist being healthy or not healthy, as Chips has said, DPS Doom was not healthy for the game. Tank Doom is not very much better, but if, say, you were to turn Doomfist into a DPS again in the current game, you would need to give way to more CC in the game in order to control him because he's so hypermobile and has so much potential within his kit. That was the only thing that kept him in check last game. And now they've more or less removed like 90% of what it was previously. And so if you were to put him back into DPS, things like Hinder, which literally nobody likes, would be justified, which I think is a bad way to balance the game.
I feel like the fun factor could be brought up like back to its original place if they just like fixed his bugs, which is like going on a list now like of 50, and brought back his tech that they ruined since the beta, you know? So if they like just fixed the hero and like remembered he was a thing, then I think he would be a lot more fun and playable.
It's funny because that person who made that Doomfist list is actually here on the show right now. And what was the number? 70? 71?
If you want to get pedantic on how you actually count it, it's technically 71. However, the way I actually structure the list, I bundle similarities together. So it there ends up being like lists of categories of multiple different things. So it's 57, realistically. Pedantically, 71.
I feel like that's not enough. I feel like Doomfist needs more.
I'm of the idea that they will never actually fully have Doomfist fixed. It's not possible. You can't combine mobility and melee characteristics like this and have him functioning. This list will always be a constant thing, no matter who they get to work on it or how long they spend working on it. They could work on all of them at once and fix them all in one patch, but it won't matter because the second they roll that patch out, there's going to be at least 7 new problems.
I'm going to pass the mic back over to my co-host here.
Hello, it's me again, everyone. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I'm having. Let's get on to the next hot take. Here we go. Doomfist as a character is a muscular, dominant force of nature that does not take tomfoolery from anyone, and he makes a great, powerful, and attractive leader. He is the exact opposite of everyone who plays him. Go!
You have them, like, they're like, what the f do I answer for this?
I don't want to use my one neutral pass on this.
Doomfist is a complete opposite of these players, and I'm a scrawny little boy, and I play Doomfist, so...
I'll jump in on this one. I'm the whitest man you've ever met in your life. I am absolutely not black. I get moonburn, dude. Yeah, no.
Well, that is an answer I never thought I'd hear on this game show.
Well, I mean, I think it's a mixed bag, you know. You have Giga Chads like me playing Doom, and then you have little nerds like Get Quaked on who play him, right? So it's a mixed bag. That's why I'm in the middle.
This week's just catching so many strays today.
I don't know, like, yeah, it is really a mixed bag, but I mean, I guess I'm more on the disagree side because, you know, some of my Doomfist friends are like very handsome, very, you know, very good leaders, all of those traits that you mentioned. So,
well,
like your good friend Get Quaked on? That's who you're referring to?
Oh yeah, no, he's a very good leader, I think. Chips is pretty good looking, I guess.
I guess.
Who's more good looking? Who's more good looking of a Doomfist player, Quaked or Chipsa?
No one knows what Quake looks like, so I guess Quake.
And then we have 4 people in the disagree. Who would like to speak?
I went to the wrong side.
Good one. Hilarious.
Okay, well, we have 3 people in the disagree who would like to speak.
I have a girlfriend, so I feel like I was kind of obligated to go on this side. Or
Oh my god, unbelievable.
He touches women and plays Doom? No, not a real person.
Not a real Doom.
His
I feel like I might
girlfriend
have
is
some issues.
super pretty and mods for me, so she's pretty much perfect, you know? So yeah, Squiggle, I agree with their stance. Doomfist is borderline unplayable right now. Go.
Oh my god, quick, can't decide again.
say leaning towards the agree. Right? Where do you want to go, truly? If you're alone in your room right now, what would your stance be?
I mean, I would pick something like in the middle. Like he's playable, but he's also not playable. I mean, you can make Doom work. I mean, it's possible. You can make Doom work into your counters. You can make Doom work into a bad team comp. Like he's just very inconsistent with all of his bugs and his current issues. So sometimes it just doesn't work, and sometimes it just does work. Like it just kind of just depends on your skill and how good you are with the character. You can go through all the bullshit.
I quit playing Overwatch for a little while, and then I came back, started playing Doom, and I'm still playing the game. So I think he's pretty playable.
If Doom wasn't playable, then why would any of us be playing Doom?
Why do any of us play Overwatch?
Or Masochist?
Have you met us?
Actually, that's a good.
We hate ourselves. Like, come on.
You're asking Overwatch players this?
We're masochists.
We all have severe
You're
depression
wrong.
playing this video game. Hello?
He is very powerful right now. He's very strong, balanced very well. Like, I'd say 95% there, away from like 5% from perfection. The pitfall in him is the bug list. His unplayability arrives from the inconsistency in how those interact with the game. Every patch there's something new and different that takes away from what he does that you have to figure out and work around because he's so unstable.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
I think I can speak for everyone here that 6-second slam cooldown did a lot of wonders for us. So
Oh my god, it was a godsend. I had this whole balance analysis ready to go, and then they did that, and it threw my entire thing out the window. That's how much it changed. Like, this is a 12,000 word document.
We need to get Cream a girlfriend.
Hey again, did you guys miss me? Don't answer that. Here is the hot take. Doomfist players need to spend less time complaining and more time learning a different hero. Go!
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by that, right? Like, if you complain about the bugs, I think that's like totally justified. But if you complain about like playing into counters and stuff, it's like that's literally the game. Like, the game is playing into counters and swapping. That's the entire core identity of the game. So, I mean, I don't swap. I mean, I'm a one trick. So maybe I'm a bit hypocritical. But if you really like, oh wow, they're playing, Sombra, Orisa, Bastion, whatever it is, and you're playing Doom and you complain about it, then just swap heroes. That's literally the point of the game.
I was gonna go over there because on one hand, I love Doom. He is the most fun tank in my opinion. But on the other hand, not getting like instantly popped by everyone is very fun when you have a shield. And it's also cool to like have your teammates actually like you, It's really nice. It's a good feeling. Especially if you're like duoing with someone and they get really mad at you and they don't want to say it. I know they want to say it, but and then sometimes you gotta switch.
We all have the power to swap or not swap. It's just up to whatever we want to do. We have our own agency in that regard. But when it comes to playing the game, like Chips has said, there are going to be counters, like weaker or stronger matchups in the game. If you want to play your character, for us it's all Doomfist, and then you want to complain about being countered, grow up. But when it comes to the hero instability, the bug list, we're going to scream until the end of the earth, and we're entirely justified in that because he doesn't get enough attention for that specific aspect.
I actually agree with Chips and Cream. Like, playing into counters is fine as Doom. Like, I actually like playing into hard counters for Doomfist. It makes the game more fun and challenging. The only thing I really complain about the most is probably the bugs and occasionally, like, some balance choices. But I think it's pretty valid to complain as Doomfist just because the hero's really buggy and inconsistent and feels like the devs don't care about him.
just like Nick A30 said, never back down, never what? Go on.
Never give up.
Exactly.
I'll go always keep complaining about bugs, but as soon as I complain about counters, I'm like leaving and never come back. That's it.
I'm kind of agreeing with Get Quicked on here. So there are two options. Either you learn another character that can counter your counters, like Zarya or something, or you just get better and then play around the counters.
After hearing everybody speak, is there anybody that would like to change their stance? Okay, we have Backstab Bud go from somewhat disagree to somewhat agree. Why'd you swap?
I think that most Doomfist players don't really complain about the bugs. I think a lot of Doomfist players complain about like the heroes or the maps. And so I definitely think they need to like start learning other heroes because yeah, you can get better into hard counters and like bad maps, but eventually like you're gonna get like twice as much value just like learning a new hero. And I think you're doing yourself and your teammates a favor by swapping.
Somebody's asking if we could add the Brazzers logo in the bottom left. Jesus Christ. Holy.
To the 1, to the 1, to the 3. I play easy mode, and I play to win. I love to die, and I like to BRB. All systems checked out. Group up with me. 2 to to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I'm here to party. GG. A giant gorilla can keep up with me? You can't be serious. I'm the queen bee. Get out of the way. I'm the MVP. Move